Nigeria Super Eagles, the Super Eagles B, they began the 2024 African Nations Championship campaign with a 1-0 defeat to defending champion Senegal in Group D. That opener over there at the Amaan Stadium in Tanzania. Christian Gomis, that 75th minute strike, you can see how it happened, how they snoozed and they lost, you know, because that was just a defensive, I don't know, the concentration was not there. Defensive lapses, naivety, even his players are even, you know, throwing tantrums there because of what lack of concentration. Yeah. And this leaves Nigeria bottom of the group. Both teams managed few clear chances, but Senegal's defense proved more resilient and more concentrated than Nigeria. Head coach Eric Chelle, he admitted his side failed in the match against Senegal. They failed to match up with Senegal's intensity. They created no first-half opportunities, and they lost key duels in this competition. Damiloju, what's your reaction to this? Not what I love to see, but do we cut them some slack? It's just the first game.
A few things. First of all, this is the defending champion here, Senegal. They conceded only 1 goal in the last tournament where they were officially able to win. I think the final was goalless, and then they only considered 1 goal in the match that they lost to Uganda. The problem is not that the Super Eagles B team lost to Senegal. The problem is the kind of goal we considered. Like you saw in that clip, it was just a hopeful ball down the middle. And unfortunately, Ngenge, just number 5, the centre-back, who is probably supposed to be the last man, just forgot his bearings, let the ball run past him. And unfortunately, our goalkeeper tried to do a bit of sweeper keeping. He didn't get there in time.
Our goalkeeper even went out before, you know,
yeah, because he was trying to cover up for his defender who didn't cover himself in glory. Yeah. So if it was a different circumstance and we lost by a goal to nothing against Senegal, remember this is our first appearance at the African Nations Championship since 2018.
Yes, a long time.
You say, okay, the defending champions, we know Senegal's football has been growing, but the manner at which we considered the goal is what's more concerning for me, not necessarily that we lost.
All right, let's hear from Eric Chelle himself. Damiloju has spoken, but Eric Chelle has got another view of what happened on the pitch of play. He was there.
During the game. In first half, we create no chance to score. So you need to be more aggressive. You need to be more aggressive offensively and of course defensively. But defensively, even we lost every duel defensively. I think we played sometime well, but the reality, we did just 1 mistake. So we need to improve in our state of mind. We need to be most competitive, more once again, more aggressive, and we will see. But the game against Sudan and Congo, if we play like this, if we are scared about some things.
That's Eric Chelle there, the coach of the Super Eagles B at the CHAN competition. I'm hoping that Eric Chelle knows that and he still remembers that he's the coach of the side. Yes, because we need to, he's not talking to the players, he's talking to reporters over there. And I'm hoping that he remembers that he's speaking to himself. He needs to. The Super Eagles B will have to face Sudan next week, needing victory to revive their quarterfinal hopes. Senegal now top Group D, extending their unbeaten CHAN run against West African opponents, while Nigeria qualification chances is hanging in the balance. Let's see if Robert Olimene, sport analyst, has a different view from what played out yesterday, because he loves Nigerian team. He's a very patriotic Nigerian. He loves to speak good about the Nigerian boys because he follows the Nigeria Premier Football League and speaks good about the players. Robert, you're welcome to In the Game. Let's feel your pulse. Nigeria has now failed to win their CHAN opening match for the 3rd time in 4 outings. Now, previously in 2014 and 2018. But watching this game, Robert, will you say, did Senegal really outplay Nigeria tactically? Just want to know. All right, Robert, it's a good thing that you did not get that question. Because I know you'd have spoken so good about the boys for me to cut them some slack, but we'll reconnect with Robert. Damiloju, now to you. I do not know if you have a love. You have a lot for Ghana football team, but
gracious.
The MPFL have not really been able to know where you stand. So would you say Senegal outsmarted us in a way tactically in that game?
Chances were few and far between. I think in total we only saw 2 shots on target from both sides. The Senegalese goalkeeper had to make 1 save. The only shot on target that they had was the one that they ended up scoring.
So tactical brilliance from Senegal. Say it.
No, both sides can easily say that they limited the opponents to very few chances. At the end of the day, it was a defensive mishap. It wasn't anything amazing that Senegal did.
So it would have ended goalless.
I think it would have. I think a draw would have been a fair result in the match yesterday. Unfortunately, we let ourselves down. Talking about the MPFL, I have love for the MPFL because it's our own.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we've not had any team in the group stages of the CAF Champions League since, I think, 2019 when Lobby Stars were last there.
Yeah.
It shows you that there's a lot of work to be done in the Nigerian League. We're seeing other countries, Senegal are doing well, Morocco are doing well, South Africa are doing well because their league is blossoming at this point in time. Unfortunately, the bed that we've laid, now we're having to lie on it.
Having to lie on it. I understand that Robert is back. Robert, you're welcome. Please confirm that you're in this conversation. Robert, please.
Good afternoon to you. It's good to be on the program once again.
All right, Robert, you can see that you're already donning one of the jerseys from the Nigeria Premier Football League Club, who are the defending champions at the moment. And I did speak about your love for MPFL teams. So we're telling you to put that love aside and be very, very critical of the performance of the Super Eagles B against Senegal. We could see that watching that game, Senegal truly outplayed Nigeria tactically. And we've been able to establish that fact that both sides, according to Damiloju, they were tactically sound. Yes, it was just a bleep, which we can cut them some slack for. But do you think that those individual errors or the goal we conceded were due to individual errors and lapses, maybe in concentration in that game against Senegal? Or did Senegal outplay us tactically?
Let me start with the goal conceded yesterday. I believe the goal conceded was a product of a loss of concentration at a very critical time of the game. And you look at the fact that this team has put in about 74 minutes of hard work on the field. And of course, when you could see the finish line in front of you, that was just the period when that defender switched up. And of course, for Ngenge, is somebody I've watched several times in the MPFL for Ikorodu. That is last season. And of course, he has been a very solid defender for the entirety of last season. Yesterday, I really could not place my hand as regards what happened at that point in time. And of course, playing back how that goal happened, time and time again, you begin to ask yourself that question. Was he that he didn't expect that the Senegalese attacker was going to make a run for it, or he just felt that, well, it's just one of those instances where the attacker was going to give up? And of course, he didn't cover himself in glory in terms of how the attacker breezed past him to set that particular motion in play for the goal to be considered. But overall, I think that the Chan Eagles can do better in the subsequent games. And of course, the game against Senegal is one game that is very, very important if they want to still stay in this tournament. And of course, find a way to the finals. Maybe, just maybe, ultimately win it at the end of the day. Nobody says it's possible. We have seen teams lose their first game, and of course, they've come back stronger to go on to win a tournament. And I think a recent case in point is the case of the English 3 Lionesses at the just completed Euros. England lost their first game against France, but they found themselves in the final, and of course, they had to find out the result against Spain. But that aside, I believe that going forward, for this team to make progress, we need to be deliberate. The coach needs to be deliberate in terms of when he makes some changes. And yesterday, I was critical about the time some of the substitutions were made. You had the likes of Anas Yusuf. This is the highest goal scorer last season in the MPFL. You're bringing him on in the 90th minute, and you're asking yourself, what exactly is he coming on in the 90th minute to do with just 4 minutes left on the clock? And that is why I said that we have to be deliberate in terms of how he wants to change the dynamics of the game. And it will quickly make me talk about the Super Falcons once again. Nigeria were 2 goals down in the game against Morocco. And of course, to the start of the second half, I am happy you were there in Morocco. Justin Madugu made changes immediately. And of course, we saw the effects of those changes going into the latter stages of the second half, which ultimately brought about how the Super Falcons won that game. You don't begin to bring on players to effect changes in a game, 90th minute, and you expect a miracle. So for me, I think that is where I would be giving Eric Chelle a serious knock in terms of how he reacted after Nigeria went behind in that particular game.
Okay. All right. I know that in all conversation, especially when it comes to the men, you have to put in the women. We motivate you in a way. It's okay. We're good with the motivation. But Coach Eric Chelle pointed out lack of aggression and competitiveness. And I'm wondering, why will you be pointing that out? Didn't you see this during training, especially with the Super Eagles B, from a tactical and some psychological perspective, Robert? What specific drills, training, adjustment, or even pre-match preparations can quickly improve this Super Eagles B intensity before they play Sudan, Robert?
I think our transition has to be better. And of course, when it comes to transition, it is a football team's way of catching the opponent on the back foot. And that is you moving the ball as quick as possible. You have to identify your attack outlets. And of course, you have to ensure that you get the best out of your attacking outlets. When it comes to getting men in the box, you have to get as many men as possible to ensure that the outcome of you scoring a goal is higher. That is in terms of your attack. And of course, the turnover in terms of recycling an attack is also something that really needs to be worked on. Because when an attack breaks down, you actually want to get the ball as fast as possible back from the defensive team to recycle that attack. And of course, you can get a better outcome, which ultimately is a goal. And thirdly, I believe that a rejig in personnel when it comes to the match against Sudan is also very, very important. If the game stays goalless at halftime, the coach has to be as decisive and he has to be as quick as possible in terms of, oh, you know what, guys, first half, these are the lapses we observed from the technical area. In the second half, players A, B, C, and D, you guys are coming in to give us the effective change that we put going forward.
Okay. I did see the first half, Damiloju. We had just one shot on target, and that was just a miscued header by Sikiru Alimi. What do you think Eric needs to inject right now to bring in pace, creativity, and maybe physicality to the Super Eagles play in this chat?
I'm not one of those who really think that physicality is one of the issues that we had. We had, I think, 2 yellow cards in the first half. It was obvious that the boys were trying to be as physical as possible.
Yeah.
I think, for me, it's not so much about physicality. It's more about cutting edge. It's more about being able to put the ball in the back of the net, being able to give yourself a really good chance. I think Sikiru Alimi is a player that can continue to be the spearhead for this particular line. Yes, it was a bad day in the office, quote unquote, because he was not able to convert chances. But I think, as we saw with the Super Falcons, let's blow Onyinye's trumpet a little bit more.
Yes, blow the
about the
women's
ladies.
trumpet.
We saw that there were not too many changes between the first match and the second match. And
but something was done in the locker room.
Yes, something was done in the locker room. Exactly. So that is it. For Eric Chelle, you talked about how he needs to look at himself as well. I remember that he's the coach of this side. I think what has to be said to the players is, for 70, 75 minutes, you did okay. You held the defending champions. What has to happen is you will get those chances in the second game. You need to bury them.
All right, Robert, before I let you go, what is the realistic path to the quarterfinal for the Super Eagles B? Just be very realistic. Take away that love. Even though you're donning the jersey of a defending champion, take away the love. Be very realistic with me. What is the path to the quarterfinal for the Super Eagles B?
To the quarterfinals is nothing short of 2 victories against Sudan and against Congo. Nothing less than 2 victories. Not because of the fact that 4 points cannot take us to the quarterfinal. 4 points can technically take us to the quarterfinal. But this win is crucial, not just for the team, but also for Nigerian fans at home supporting this particular team. I saw a lot of comments on social media yesterday, and those comments did not repose any form of confidence on the team. And this is where the team really needs to come out, give Nigerians that solid performance to get the support back on. And of course, hopefully, the sale of that support will get them to the promised land, as I would say it.
All right, if the promised land is the quarterfinal, what happens to the semi-final and the final? They better get their acts together. Thank you so much, Robert Olimene, for joining us in this conversation. We do appreciate you, and we'll be hoping that your hope that makes a rabbit feel like he's the lion, the king of the jungle, would take the Super Eagles far in this competition. We appreciate your time.